Today we're working mobility of the joints, so we're going to be spending a lot of time on our hands and knees. So coming down to the floor, we'll start with our wrists. So just placing the palms just in front of the knees, fingers can be just gently spread, moving forward and back. We're mobilizing the joints in the wrists or the little bones there, connections with the arm that come down. You can do some circling, so you gently push into the floor actively rather than hunching through the shoulders. Even just taking the fingers out to the side, so moving left to right here. You're going to feel it in different points up the wrists. You'll feel it compress into those joints as well. And again, you can explore different positions of the fingers, even back a little bit as well. We're going to now get into stretching through the flexors of the arms. So if you try one hand at a time, all you're going to do is have the fingers pointing back towards the knees or knee, and you're just pushing towards the floor. You don't have to get the hand flat. You're going to feel it pull up through the fingers. We'll do about 10 pulses, and then we're just holding for around 10 seconds. The thumb can be off the floor if you need to rest it down. And the same with the other hand. So other hand, fingers pointing back, gently pushing down towards the floor. Depending on the flexibility of your fingers, you're going to feel it in different positions and different points. Sometimes more, sometimes less. So after around 10 of those, you're pushing further, deeper. So here in this position, the palms off the floor for me, but I'm feeling that stretch through the fingers themselves. Thumbs up off the floor, but I've just placed it down as well. And then release that, give it a shake. Now, so if you want to go a little bit deeper with both hands, you can have the fingers close into the knees, pointing back, wrists are facing forward. Some of you may not have that flexibility, so even sometimes placing the hands beside. Some of you might even find deeper placing the hands in between. And from here, you're just gently easing backwards. So from side on, leaning back. Huge stretch down the flexors here. So done those 10 pulses, now just holding gently back. Some of you might be able to sink deeper, feel through it. Even a slight lean to one hand can just bring out a little bit more intensity. And then release that, nice and slow. You'll feel that rebound the tissues. And then we turn it the other way. So I like to do with both hands upside down. You can do one. I'm just placing the back of the palms, my elbows are bent, and I'm just gently wriggling the fingers. It's a counter stretch. For me, it feels good. You feel it pull through the tendons in the back of the hand. Maybe the thumb touches each finger there, even creating fists, trying to pull those fists in. So we're now going to work some rotation of the arm itself. So if you place your palms flat to the floor, and I'm turning my elbow crease forward, and if you see, basically there's a rotation that occurs through the arm, just doing that a few times, around 10 times each. And then a little bit of movement forward and back, keeping the elbow creases facing forward. So there's tension as you push down through the floor. From the side here, basically we'll see that rotation, and you're going to feel it as well. And then the same as we flip it up the other way. So we had the hands before upside down. My elbows were bent through it. Some of you will be able to straighten more. And as you straighten, you'll see the elbow crease moves forward. My hand comes gently up off the floor. If that is all you can do, that's fine. Some people will be able to put it flat or one hand at a time. But you may need still just brace the body there. I'm leaning forward a bit more because the more I pull back, the more I'm feeling it through the extensors of the arm. So I'm leaning forward, elbow soft, turn the elbow forward, slightly lean back, and I'm feeling that deep through the extensors. You can pulse through it 5 to 10 times. You can hold it, breathe. And if you can, even gently pushing the back of the hand down at the same time. And then release, do the other side, so the other hand upside down. So again, my hand doesn't touch the floor, so I lean forward, use my other hand to brace, get the hand down, then I turn the elbow pit forward. And that winds up. You'll feel it work, all that extensor area, the back of the arm or the top of the arm. Holding there, you can slightly pulse. Again, if you look, my hand is just slightly coming off the floor. So I'm leaning forward and just turning the elbow pit forward further. And then just hang there another 10 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. Breathing. It's really important to breathe throughout all of this so that we're not holding extra tension, squeezing our jaw. And then come out of there, palms flat to counter stretch. Give it a shake. So now we're going to work the upper spine from this quadruped position. So all hands and feet or knees on the floor. We're working the neck. What this is basically a pushing forward of the head and a gentle pulling back. And as I'm doing this, pushing forward with the face, pulling the chin back in, slightly tucking that chin in, noticing that my shoulders are what I would call a neutral position. I'm not shrugging. I'm not pulling them down too tight. I'm just sort of letting them be still. But the chin pulls back, pushes forward. And we'll do this about 10 times each side. As we work through this, if there's any kind of discomfort or pain at any point, skip the actual movement itself. So I'm just pushing that chin forward, or pushing the face forward rather. I'm getting that neck folding forward more in a flexion. And then I'm pulling it back, more extending that neck. Holding there, chin gently tucks in. And then just release from there. If you need to come up just to reset. And now we're going to work the shoulder blades. So these shoulder blades, this movement, the head stays neutral this time. So there's no movement of the head and neck, but it's the actual shoulders, shoulder blades that are squeezing together. Then you push into the floor and you try to get the shoulder blades apart. Squeezing together, push into the floor, shoulder blades coming apart. This does take a little bit of coordination. So I always teach it to begin with your arms forward, palms facing forward, fingers pulling back, and all you're doing is shrugging back, pushing forward. This movement is exactly the same as having your hands on the floor. We just haven't got the palms flat. There's no closed chain. But squeezing, pushing forward will get that same movement of the shoulder blade. As you push forward, the shoulder blade comes off the rib cage. As you pull back, it squeezes back together. You try to place the palms flat and do that same movement. This time, those shoulder blades in the upper body are the ones that move. You can practice one hand if I show you forward. So the palm, one hand is flat, and it's basically that movement up and down, keeping the elbow straight the whole time. It's not a push-up. That's what happens sometimes. People think that it's actually a push-up where you're bending the elbows, but it's not. Elbow stays locked, and that shoulder blade is moving back and squeezing, and then pulling forward of the rib cage. So to finish that movement, you squeeze the shoulder blades together, the upper body sink down, holding 10 seconds, and then you push into the floor, trying to get those shoulder blades apart, holding that for 10 seconds. And then release from there. Now we're going to do a very similar movement. This time the shoulder blade, we're going to circle as well as the shoulders. Palms are still in that same position. This time as I go up and down, I am circling the shoulders. So before we were doing forward and back, this time we're pulling down and rolling the shoulders up and down and back, up, forward, down, back. And obviously you can reverse it the other way. So one movement's up and forward, one movement's up and back. Hands on the floor, same thing. Trying to keep the elbows straight. This will get into the shoulder blades, so that mid-thoracic region. And again, if you want to try with just one arm, just trying to circle it, can feel a bit more awkward just with the one arm rolling forward and one arm rolling back. Forward, trying to roll it back. Now we're going to rotate the actual spine. So rather than working the shoulders that we did, this time the spinal column is where we're going to push the chest forward, out to the side, push it back, out to the other side and forward again. So it's this rotation that we're going to be doing, both directions, with our arms on the floor. So it's a closed circuit, closed chain. So think about moving with the chest. So sink the chest down, push it out to the left, push the chest up towards the ceiling, out to the right and down again. And just basically trying to connect those movements to make it more smoother. And then you're trying to go the other way. My elbows are staying straight. And I'll show you from forward, facing. Chest pushes down, out to the left, up, out to the right and down. Other cues you could think about is as that chest pushes down and that left lat area pushes out, the spine, the back pushes up, out to the right with those lats and down again. And just reversing that as best you can. The hips, the pelvis just sort of follows whatever needs to occur, because this upper spine, this thoracic area, the rib cage area is what we're focusing on moving. Chest forward, out, back, out, forward. So there is that ability to do it without the hands on the ground. Having the hands on the ground gives that closed chain ability to move, which usually helps the spine be able to move further. Moving further down the spine, so we've worked that mid-thoracic, is now the lumbar, sort of base of the spine. With the classic dips and domes, or known as cat and cow in yoga, where you're sticking your butt out and that lower back, the lumbar pushes down. You usually feel a pinch around the kidney area, obviously as long as it's not painful. And then you tuck the tail under. You squeeze your butt, tuck the tail under. That pushes the lumbar up to the ceiling, obviously the mid-thoracic. The upper spine's also pushing up. Stick the butt out, let that spine drop down, push it up, and it domes towards the ceiling. Think of it like a rainbow. As you push the chest, the spine down, the butt sticks out, and you're getting a smile, like a smiley face to a rainbow. A dip down, and then a dome up. So doing that, again, around 10 times each. And then just holding gently, provided there's no discomfort, 10 seconds. And then pushing up, squeezing the glutes, even pushing the hands deeper into the floor to really get that dome effect. Keep breathing. The breath will help the rest of the body soften and relax whilst we're holding this tension. And stretch. Come out of there, shake the hands. We've been on the hands a while. We're building strength in those wrists as well. So now we're going to do a groin stretch, an adductor stretch inside the legs. So from here we're going to take the knees wide. I like to keep my toes together, pointing like a little triangle. Some people can take their feet apart or even turning the toes out to the side. So I'll show you from the side. My knees go apart, my feet stay together, my toes stay together. Some people take them more parallel with the mat. See the mat here? Some people can tuck them under. That's the true frog stretch or position, provided it doesn't hurt the inside of your knees. Even if you have those toes pointing in, again, move very gently, very carefully. We're aiming to have the knees as wide as you can, and the hips in line with those knees. So you're gently pulsing forward to begin. If you've got those feet out wide, it'll look more like this. There is more tension for me there, even a little bit of cramping. So I'm just taking it easy in this shape. Moving forward 10 times, even holding forward. I may need to adjust a little. And then pushing back 10 times as well. Always be careful with the knee joints here. So holding back for 10, then maybe just sitting there, pushing gently, breathing. So I'll try to show you from the front. So my knees are wide, my toes are out wide as well. I'm gently pulsing forward 10 times, gently pulsing back. As I push back with the feet out wide, it definitely is a lot stronger. And there is one final movement that some people can take, where you're lifting one foot slightly off the floor, internally rotating, but again, be mindful because the knee's pushing down into the floor. Hopefully you're working on a soft surface, a mat. Try the other one. So again, around 10, 5 to 10, depending on your level, and then maybe even just holding it there for 10 seconds. It may start to cramp, so be very cautious, very gentle. Yeah, other one I didn't do 10 seconds there, so again lifting up. And then to come out of here, I normally just like to slide forward, let the feet go back, just rest for a moment. And I even like to just come up into a sphinx position after that. Breathing here. Some of you may be able to or want to push a little higher, that up face dog. Just keeping that sphinx hold just for a moment. Elbows can push down, even a slight movement, one shoulder forward, one shoulder back. See how that feels. We're in an extension, a backbend, and a slight rotation as well, all at the same time. If it's your first time doing this, take everything cautiously. Make sure you're breathing. Don't force, allow, and just see how that movement works for you today. Flexibility isn't always with us immediately. Flexibility comes in time. What we're working as well here today is mobility of the joints. So connective tissue can stiffen over our lifetime, as do muscles, and that can in turn impact the way the joints move. So all this is about slowly opening up the joints, mobilizing the joints, stretching the muscle tissue, which is a lot more elastic than all the structure, connective tissue that's holding joint together. Awesome. Laying down, release down just for a moment. Take a few breaths. Then even with the hands under shoulders, push back into that child's pose position where hips go back towards the heels just to curve the spine, maybe the head resting on the hands. Some people like the arms forward. So coming up out of this position now, we will work into just a bit of side bending. So normally many of us will stretch our lats standing up, leaning one arm by the ear or holding onto a doorway or a pole just to get that stretch here. Arm comes forward, knees hip width apart, just letting that right side of the body just start to stretch as it falls down towards the floor. I can push actively my palm into the ground as well, even a slight trying to pull back to get that stretch as well without any movement through the fingers, pushing down, trying to pull the hand back through the floor. So again, around 10, 5 to 10, holding for 10 seconds, letting that stretch be felt. And then we'll go the other side. So the other arm goes out. So it can be straight in front or slightly out. We'll do another variation in a moment where we're just letting now this left shoulder drop down. It twists the body slightly. You feel that stretch under that left shoulder. Do around 10 movements up and down, exploring as you move in. Each time you may go a little bit deeper. Keep breathing, pushing the palm into the floor, maybe trying to pull the fingers back as you let that body drop down. And just holding there. And then coming up from there. So the next position we can do with this to take it a bit deeper. Some people like to have the knees really wide to get a groin stretch at the same time. We have just done one that's quite deep, so you might want to be a little bit more conservative. Coming down onto your elbows, we're coming back to that right arm. So you're going out to your left, stretch the right arm out on a diagonal and reaching, tiptoeing the fingers out. You're going to feel that through that right shoulder. I'm resting on that left leg. If my knees were further apart, basically I'm sort of more floating in space. Keep breathing. You can do slight movements here, trying to get that right arm, the shoulder down towards the floor. My left elbow is supporting. Palm can push. Try to gently stretch back or pull back rather. Breathing. It's a little bit deeper. And even after just a few seconds, sometimes I like to tiptoe the fingers further forward, and that takes me deeper into the stretch as more body weight is pushing down through this right area, right shoulder, rib cage area. And then your left elbow takes the body weight to bring the right arm back in, tiptoe out to the right, right elbow, right arm takes the body weight as you stretch that left arm forward. Then that left side of the body is trying to get down towards the floor. Continue to breathe. It's around 5 to 10 pulses. And then just hanging there. Maybe the fingers tiptoe a little bit further forward. As you breathe, even the breath is going to push and expand the lungs out and give you that stretch from the inside out towards the ribs, towards this left side lat area. And then gently, right elbow takes the body weight. Bring the knees close together if they're apart. Rest forward again into that child's pose, whether the forehead rests on fingers or palms or fists, or letting the head come down to the ground. Arms can tuck under. And from here, we're going to come up into a more extreme version of the Sphinx, where we drop the hips forward. Your palms are under the shoulders, hips come down, squeeze the butt if you can, if you need, then lifting up and pushing the hips back towards the heels, coming out of that. But we can even go into that dome position of the spine. So spine's now flexing forward. Breathe in, let the hips drop, an extension. So again, it's another sort of extreme version of the dip and dome or the cat-cow. Making sure as you move forward and back, the spine, the knees, all the joints are feeling safe. If it's too intense to drop the hips down, keep them up a little. For those that can go deep into it, you can hold, like we did in the Sphinx position, this time one shoulder moves forward and back. That may have a deeper stretch around the hip flexors, across the front of the pelvis. And then again, gently pushing yourself back, hips to heels. Move with the breath, inhale forward. You can hold there for a few breaths, or exhale back. Ready, need to breathe in again. Drop, exhale, pushing back. So it also helps to teach to regulate the breath, slower the breathing down. Again, if you want to hold here for 10 seconds, I like to actively push my hands down, so it's activating the lats. And then gently push back. One more time into that forward flexion, that child's pose variation, arms are forward. From here, we're going to come up into a lunge. So we're going to bring one foot forward and aiming to have 90 degree position. You're basically flat through here. From your knee up, we're not going deep into the lunge to begin, we're staying back. What we're aiming to do here is to squeeze your glutes and tuck under. And immediately you'll feel through here, through the front of that pelvis, hip flexors basically going to try to stretch because you're squeezing the backside. Front side has to lengthen. Contraction, lengthen or stretch. And you're pulsing as you keep squeezing your butt. And not moving far forward, but I'm feeling that through this front of the hip. Keep squeezing the butt. You can also do an extra bit of trying to drag the knee forward as you come forward without it moving. And that just adds another element. I'm coming forward, I'm holding, squeezing the glutes, knees trying to pull forward. It's all working through here. And then just holding for 10 seconds and breathing. Then even soften the glutes and you'll notice you usually be able to lunge even deeper into there. From the front view, as I was doing that, my foot was in line with my knee. But if you change the position of that back foot, say out to the side, outwards, and squeezing, leaning forward, I'm feeling it work in different parts of that hip flexor coming through. So my toes now are turned in, squeezing the butt, leaning forward. And I can feel that in just slightly different areas to if the toe and the foot was in line with that knee. Again, everyone's going to be different. Everyone's joints will internally rotate, externally rotate, different to the next person. So you've got to find it and feel, experiment for yourself. So once we've leaned into this position, your opposite hand is going to go onto the ground opposite where that foot is. And rather than the idea of running a race where you lift the hips up, what I want you to do, try to keep your hips low and then just push the heel back. So the knee lifts, the heel pushes back. Maybe you need to slide that back foot further rather than coming up high. And that, holding that position, you're going to feel again through deep into this hip area. The twist, so the opposite arm, if you can, push down through this hand, under the shoulder it's placed, lift it up, take it out as far back as you can like a windmill, pull it down and turn the body in. Do this. I will show you from the front. So the arm is going up. As you bring it down, you may be able to get the elbow to the floor, but it's quite possible you can't. Do this around 3 to 5 times. It doesn't have to be many times. And then finishing with that arm lifted, you're pushing down through that supporting shoulder, so you're not sitting in that shoulder joint. Arm reaches up and back, holding, breathing. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lower the arm, lower the knee. When you lower that back knee down, we're going to work the hamstring of this front leg. Some of you will be able to push your hips back, keep the body resting on that thigh, and try to pull the toes up off the floor. That may work into your calf, it may work more into the hamstring area. What we're trying to do is keep your body connected to that thigh. Some people even have their arm wrapped under, moving forward and back out of it, if that's possible. Some of you may need to have blocks or have something to put under the hands. Some people don't have long arms. So you'll be pushing back. You can have the blocks here, pulling the toes back. My body's trying to stay connected with the thigh. I'm moving in and out of that stretch. For those that are able to, maybe even holding your arm under the back of that leg keeps you connected. And after around 5 to 10, just letting your body hang here and breathe. Maybe the hands are just coming either side of that leg. You're going to be feeling it up. Maybe through the calf if that's tight, maybe just the back of the knee and higher towards the underbutt, towards the sitting bones, the glutes. Awesome. And then coming out of here. So we've got to do the other side. Remember, we're having that 90 degrees. I've got my toes tucked. That just adds another dimension to the quad stretch. This time I've got props here if you need them. If you need to have those extensions of the arms. Some of you will be able to balance. Some might even need a chair. We're squeezing the glutes, tucking the tail under, and this leg, I'm feeling it really work quite tight already. Moving in and out of that as I continue to squeeze, moving forward and back. Doesn't have to be too far. And then just holding forward. Before we did the knee pulling forward as well, you can try to pull the knee forward as you come into it. Soften, go back. Squeeze, tuck under. Try to pull the knee forward. You'll feel that through here. You can experiment, explore different positions, maybe hanging a little bit deeper. Pull the knee, soften it. And I always like to end it where I just release the glutes and let the joints just go further into that shape. As before, the hand, opposite hand comes down where that opposite foot would be. If you have blocks, if you have a book, good old encyclopedias, you could have this down on the floor as well. And trying to lift the back knee and push the heel back without the hips lifting too high. So not aiming to do this, aiming to get that length through that lower leg. Squeezing my glutes, squeezing my butt here. Lifting the arm up to the ceiling. Trying to take the arm back. And 3 to 5 times, bringing the elbow maybe down towards the floor or just as far as you can, sliding the arm underneath. This front leg will limit your movement. The hip, the thigh, the ability for that leg to even drop out slightly. Protect your joints, make sure you're feeling safe moving through these joints. That final hold where you lift the arm up, holding 10 seconds, breathing, squeeze the glutes, explore that, squeezing the legs more. Push down through that supportive arm so that you're not sitting in the joint of the shoulder, lowering down. Hamstrings now on that front leg, whether you have blocks, just accessories to help keep the body upright further. You can have the same arm, elbow wrapped under that leg. As you push the hips back, come forward. Keep the toes pulling back as well. You'll see a lot of sports people, even just people at the gym, reaching and holding the toe, which still gives you a deep stretch. But the idea here is we're trying to keep your body on that thigh, and it's proprioception. The thigh feels your body, therefore allows this hamstring to stretch deeper. And 10 times, and just hanging there, breathing. That 10-second hold. And then gently bend forward back into that gentle lunge. Use your hands, either walk, heel toe that foot back, sitting back, whether you need to kneel up or sit back on the heels. Whatever you feel the body needs to do to rebound. So we're now going to go into a squat. I am able to get down quite deep, deep squat. Feet are flat, knees over the toes are slightly turned out. Some people may get stuck here, and we still can work with this. Others may be able to go down, but their heels come up off the floor. So I always get towels or rugs under the back of the heels, some kind of elevation of the heels, so that when you come down into the squat, there's less compression on the front of the ankles. Heels up, heels flat. Maybe you're up higher. We're coming into that squat, and we're first going to do just gentle circles. So letting your knees push out over the toes, and you're rolling back a little bit from the side here, using my upper body, my weight, distributing gently back out to the knees, over the toes, and back again. Even if you're up high, you can still do that rotation, circling. Maybe your hands need to come down. You'll feel this in your quads deeply. This is working on our ankles, our hips, hip flexors, lower back. Some people are able to lift their chest up and flex it down, lift the chest. All this is going into also gentle decompression of the spine. So you can practice other movements here. I like to get my elbows pushing the knees slightly apart. Maybe you do that gentle twist here. One arm comes down, the other hand lifts up onto the knee. Movements of the spine whilst the hips are in this shape with the legs. Now to sit back down or come out of this, you can either roll forward, make sure the knees feel safe, lift the hips up to straighten the legs. Some of you might even just reach back with the hands and gently step the feet out. Our final one is a 3-point bridge. Feet are wider apart, usually wider than the hips themselves. The arm, one arm, fingers pointing away, under the shoulder to take the body weight, you push down and you lift the hips up off the floor. Some of you will be able to get higher with those hips, always making sure this shoulder is tracking over the wrist to protect the shoulder joint. You can practice a few lifts and lowers here. Maybe bringing the feet in will help be able to get off the floor easier and better. Try to keep this shoulder over the hand to protect. Then with the free hand, as you lift up, the arm comes up and over. 3-point bridge. Lower down. Use your breath. 3 times. And then if you can hold, you're going to lift up, push that arm over. Eyes are looking at the thumb here. And then slowly lower back down, change sides. Other arm, fingers pointing behind, hand underneath the shoulder to protect the shoulder joint. If your hand is out here, you will hurt your body. The shoulder won't like it. Trying to stack the joints, pushing down through the floor. My hips lift up. Maybe that's as far as you can go for now, because that will take a bit of strength. If you can lift the hips higher, go slow to begin, exploring it, exploring this movement. Maybe you can lift up higher. Maybe that arm can already up and back. And that final hold, shoulders over wrists still, lifting up, hips as high as you can. Eyes are looking at the thumb here. Lower slowly, making sure the shoulder stays over the wrist. And that ends the mobility warm-up. The deep squat and the 3-point bridge, the last two, treat them with caution, even if you need to skip them for the first few weeks. Thanks everyone, we'll see you soon.